It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers.
Crazy.
Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
Oh, white girls.
There are some connections, but I'm not going to get in the middle of that criminal investigation. It's ongoing. There's a well-planned attack. And it's because of the rhetoric. These nuts that want to take it beyond protesting to criminal activity, they're getting rhetoric from the members of Congress.
10 insurrectionists charged with attempted murder. This case coming out of Texas. You can see all these people right here listed 1 through 10 now facing a new reckoning after their attack on an ICE facility where they attempted to murder a federal officer. And these people are just some stellar looking folks here. You can see Andy NGO over on X posted this. He says, these are the 10 people charged with crimes in federal court. Seen here. We got some trans too. Bottom row left to right. We got Bradford Morris, trans name is Megan Morris of Dallas. Cameron Arnold, trans name Autumn Hill of Dallas. Joy Gibson, Dallas. This guy Zachary Evitz, Waxahachie. Nathan Bauman, Daniel, not pictured below. And so we got some T's as part of the insurrectionary crew. And they're basically Antifa. Now we're going to go through the criminal indictment, but they were heavily armed. They were Antifa maniacs, and now they're being prosecuted. And this was announced by this U.S. attorney. Her name is Nancy Larson, saying they stormed the facility. It was a planned ambush with an intent to kill ICE correction officers. Here is what she said.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m. at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack.
Insurrection.
Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison. Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers.
Crazy.
Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
Wild. And you'd imagine that this would be wall to wall across the media, right? We'd be talking about this Trantifa organization that is attacking ICE officials with weapons and now being charged with attempted murder. But they don't want to talk about that. They'd rather talk about what's happening in Texas and blame Trump for the weather. But here is the criminal complaint now filed against 10 individuals charged with attacking ICE. And much of these charges are very much the same. So you can see multiple counts on or about July 4th in Texas. These defendants, with premeditation and malice aforethought, they thought about this thing, premeditating it. They unlawfully attempted to kill Correctional Officer 1 and Correctional Officer 2 and ADP Officer 1. They came in here with 2 AR-15 style rifles and discharged the firearm in count 4. Another discharging of a firearm in count 5. And count 6, same thing. Many of these people charged with knowingly discharging the firearm, right? So all these defendants firing weapons, crazy. Here's the account. Agent from the FBI says, I'm a special agent with the FBI, and I've been doing this for a while, since 2025, and currently I'm assigned in Fort Worth, and I investigate terrorism. And I'm responsible for conducting investigations into various threats, including racially motivated violent extremism. Remember those RMVEs that Christopher Wray rolled out? Militia extremism, weapons of mass destruction violations, violent anti-government extremists. And I've received training in these areas, counterterrorism and war, worked in a lot of things, money laundering, digital evidence, blah, blah, blah. Prior to joining the FBI, I worked in Texas as a police officer in Grapevine for 7 years, Secret Service, and a correctional officer. This dude has been in the law. So here are the defendants listed here. The Prairieland Detention Center is an ICE homeland detention facility, and it holds persons related to immigration violations. Now, this detention center has correctional officers, and they work there. So what happened on July 4th, America's birthday, at 10:37 p.m. Central Daylight Time, time, a group of 10 trans Tifa folks, around 10 to 12 individuals wearing all black, began shooting fireworks towards the detention center. At 10:47, one or two individuals broke off from the main group and began to graffiti and damage vehicles and a guard structure in the parking lot at the facility, including the following: wreck that vehicle, spray paint over here, ice pig, F you pigs on this guard tower. Real creative. Then the officers called 911. We're under attack. At 10:58, two unarmed correctional officers performing official duties came out to the fence line and attempted to talk to the vandals. Hey guys, cut this out. The correctional officers then exited the fence line and they approached them. Meanwhile, a person wearing a green mask can be seen standing outside the woods just north of the intersection and appearing to be signaling the vandals with a flashlight. At the same time, around 10:59, the APD, a police officer, arrived in the parking lot at the detention center in response to the calls. Immediately after the officer got out, an assailant in the woods opened fire at the cops, shooting the officer in the neck area. Guy got shot in the neck. The assailant in the green mask, standing near the woods, then also opened fire at an unarmed DHS correctional officer. In total, the assailants shot approximately 20 to 30 rounds at the cops, at the officers. Police then later recovered spent .556 caliber casings at the location of both of the shooters. The caliber is typically used with AR-15s. The shooting was captured on both CCTV and body-worn camera footage. Police later found a Franklin Armory AR-15 style rifle west of the shooting on Tanglewood Drive. The rifle had a bullet jammed in the chambers. Didn't know how to clear it, thereby causing it to malfunction. Like crap, ditch it. A second AR-15 style rifle was found abandoned in the woods in the vicinity, along with two body armor plate carriers with loaded AR-15 mags. A pistol magazine was also recovered nearby. So it seems like they got squeamish and just ditched all their gear running away. Shortly thereafter, a Johnson County Sheriff's Officer detective, but they were ready to go. I mean, they were armed up, ready to go. Body armor, loaded magazines, another magazine for a pistol. Shortly thereafter, detectives who were en route there was radioed and said a red maroon Hyundai was observed fleeing the scene, headed your direction. The detective made a traffic stop, nailed him. 2007 red maroon Hyundai van less than a mile away is shown in the figure below. Here's where they apprehended them on foot. Here's the location of the traffic stop. Here's the parking lot where the vandalism occurred. Here's the location where they were shooting. So they came in here and the shooters were here. Subjects. Prairie Land Detention Center is this building right here. Then they caught him over here, caught him over here. During the traffic stop, officers observed a black pistol in plain view and asked the sole occupant, Morris, are there any firearms in this vehicle? Morris said, yeah, there's another firearm in the back seat. At the time, officers observed an AR-15 style in the back. Morris was removed from the van and detained. Oh, we just got shot at by one of those. The officers also saw two Kevlar ballistic style vests, one of which was in the back seat and the other was in the back of the van. Now, there was also a ballistic helmet in the van. Morris had a loaded magazine in his pocket that matched the pistol and handheld radio in his possession. Another AR-15 style rifle was found in the back of his van. And you say, okay, so what? You're allowed to have all that stuff, right? Unless he's a felon or something. So then he admitted that he was there and had claimed that he met some people online and transported some of them down there to make some noise. This guy starts talking wild. Morris claimed ownership of all the firearms. They took him into custody. So you pull him over. Maybe he doesn't make that admission. You just, what are all these weapons? I'm allowed to have guns. I'm allowed to have this stuff. Get out of here. Leave me alone. I'm not answering any of your questions. I don't answer those questions. Here's my name and ID and information, insurance, registration, but I don't answer those questions. But he says, oh yeah, I was just there shooting at people. Morris claimed ownership of all the firearms and they said, oh, thank you for giving us all of that information. Now you're going to jail. At approximately 11:10, deputies responding to Prairie Land made contact with 7 subjects on foot. The subjects were identified as those other 7. They were dressed in black, military, just walking around for a stroll. Some had on body armor. Some were covered in mud. Some were armed. Some had radios. Additional firearm magazines containing ammo and a total of 12 sets of body armor were found during the search of the vehicles, including the following. Look at that, man. Lots of mags there, baby. Nice. Here's their sign. Resist fascism. Fight oligarchy. Bauman was wet. His clothing was covered with burrs, indicating that he had been crawling around in the woods. He also had a backpack that contained a can of spray paint and flyers, including the following. Fight ICE terror with class war, like the good communists. Free all political prisoners. Carrying around the evidence on him. Police also found where he was arrested an iPhone and an ID card. Gibson had 2 cell phones in his backpack inside a Faraday bag. Based on my training, I know Faraday bags are used to block phone signals so that you don't get Brian Kobergered. Sykes had a handgun in his waistband. AR-15 style upper and lower receiver broken down in a backpack. Police later determined the AR-15 rifle was purchased 10 days before from a pawn shop. He admitted the guns were his, but they were for his protection. I never used them. Evitz was another registered owner of another Mazda. He was parked there. They found him dressed in black military 3 miles away. After confirming confirming his identity and his connection to the Mazda that was left at the scene, he was arrested. Oh yeah, that's my car. Officers also found a black mask, a pair of tactical gloves, pair of safety goggles. Where were you coming from? He said, I don't know, or words to that effect, right? Where were you coming from? On or about July 5th, pursuant to a valid search warrant, law enforcement searched the residence. Police recovered 9 firearms, body armor, spray paint, historical cell phone data showed that this was a staging area. They all met at that dude's house. Now at the residence was Arnold, whom co-defendant confirmed was also there. Then on July 6th, Ruta placed a phone call to Daniel, who was charged in a separate complaint. Ruta told Sanchez that her car was parked on the same block, saying whatever you need to do, move whatever you need to move at the house. So get my car out of there. I don't want to get caught. Ruta expressed concern about the possibility of the police executing a search warrant. They're listening on the calls. Sanchez told Ruta that he had already gone to Ruta's house. We're good. I understood this to mean that they believe the house had not been searched yet. So based on that, I think they were talking about this home. So then the surveillance team went to the residence, which they thought was the address for Sanchez. FBI observed a vehicle at the Sanchez residence carrying multiple packages. They followed Sanchez over there, executed a search warrant, boom, found the box being carried, which contained more anti-government propaganda, organizing for attack, the insurrectionary anarchy. They're literally insurrectionists, right? So the people that they called insurrectionists who were not insurrectionists were attacked and prosecuted by the FBI for 4 years and abused and imprisoned and bankrupted and divorced and ridiculed and ransacked. But this is the real insurrectionary army. Now, so based on the foregoing facts, I submit there's probable cause to believe all of these people broke the law, attempted murder of a federal official, discharging of a firearm, aiding and abetting. Shout out to FBI agent called Clark Wythorn, signed in and charged against these 10 people in Texas. So they'll now face those charges, and those are big ones. Attempted murder, that's not playing around. So we saw that we had more in Mexico, apparently. They are also protesting, but they're protesting the gringos, and they're very unhappy that white people are in Mexico. Americans are in Mexico, I guess, and they don't want that to happen. So we've got Americans attacking our ICE facilities and Mexicans attacking their government facilities because we got each other's people in each other's countries. So why don't we just fix that, you know? Here is this clip.
Gente que viene de otros países, en su mayoría extranjeros, a querer imponer su cultura, sus precios, desplazar a los mexicanos.
Kill a gringo? You're writing that on Mexican buildings?
A los nativos de estas tierras.
Oh, white girls.
La gentrificación solo es un paso más a la colonización, a los despojos y a que exploten nuestros recursos.
Anticapitalista,
Gringos, go home.
Anticlasista, proletaria.
Okay, so they don't want gringos there. They don't want white Americans in their country. They even have all cops are bad down there too. So pretty interesting. And maybe the solution is that our peoples just go back to our home countries and we just call it a day. Now, Stephen Miller was also out yesterday on with Jesse Waters.
It has to leave her city.
Here is what Stephen Miller had to say.
There is an insurrectionist movement in the Democratic Party that is inspiring domestic terrorism against ICE. When you have the mayor of Los Angeles mobilizing agitators, mobilizing the mob against ICE, saying that federal law enforcement has to leave her city. This is a settled constitutional question. Federal law is the supreme law of the land. You cannot nullify it. You cannot succeed from it. It is the law of the United States of America. So these insurrectionist Democrats are every day engaging in rhetoric that is incentivizing, that is encouraging, that is fomenting violent terrorist attacks against ICE and ICE officers. Not only in the shootings that you've seen recently, but ICE officers are being doxxed, their families and children are being threatened, their addresses are being posted online, they are being subjected to a campaign of terror by these radical Democrats. There is an
The real insurrectionists, of course, the Democrats. They, as always, confess through their projections. But here was a little bit more from Tom Homan explaining who these people are and what this is really about.
What do you make of the organization and sophistication level of this? And what are you doing to protect your agents in light of these attacks?
Well, look, unfortunately, Listen, Martha, I said over 2 months ago, I said on your network, numerous networks, I do a lot of interviews, I said over 2 months ago, if the rhetoric continues against ICE agents and Border Patrol agents about being compared to terrorists, like Congressman J. Paul did, being compared to Nazis and racists, that it's going to end with the use of force, that either a criminal is going to die or an officer is going to die. I've seen this recipe before. I knew it was coming, and I don't think it's over. And look, this is a well-planned attack, as the person said, and we're investigating on the connections between the Texas incident, the Alvarado facility, the two incidents of Border Patrol and ICE. There are some connections, but I'm not going to get in the middle of that criminal investigation. It's ongoing. This is a well-planned attack, and it's because of the rhetoric. These nuts that want to take it beyond protesting to criminal activity, they're getting rhetoric from the members of Congress. The senators who compare ICE to the Nazis. Congressman J. Paul compared to the terrorist organizations. So these people, these fringe groups, feel emboldened. If a member of Congress can attack ICE, why can't we? So in response to this, ICE facilities, the security protocol has been heightened to the highest levels, along with Border Patrol facilities. But here's what they need to understand. We're not going to stop enforcing immigration law.
That's right.
President Trump made a promise to the American people to secure the border. We had the most secure border in the history of the nation today. Now we got a lot of illegal alien, criminal, public safety threats, national security threats we need to find and remove. It's not going to slow us down. We're going to do this job.
Tom Homan explaining there will be no brakes on this train. The deportations will continue. The defense of ICE agents and officers will continue. And these people will be prosecuted if they break the law. So we'll keep our eye on this one. 10 individuals and other ICE attacks happening all over the country. We'll monitor it and see what the DOJ does in response. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do.